Well, greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another another Minecraft discussion on well-being. Just a reminder that Minecraft is about becoming the boss of your brain. I even have pins that say that I give to my Minecrafters. I could have thought of that to show you one again. Anyway, I have those to become the boss of your brain because thoughts come first and feelings second, and this is what dictates our lives. So we change the thinking, we change our actual lives every day in every way. Okay, good. So today, I forgot to say my name. Anyway, my name is Kimberly Quinn. Said it twice if I did already. And I'm here to discuss the yes hangover. And so the yes hangover is not really all that different from a post-party hangover, except maybe without the dehydration. You might even still have the headache. And yeah, so we don't want to go back that route. But anyway, so the yes hangover is still that fogged over, not good feeling. And so it comes down to when we're saying yes too much because we're not thinking about it first. Remember, thoughts come first, right? And feelings come second. Well, we can't have the resentful feelings if we're not thinking the thoughts. Saying stuff, agreeing to stuff without thinking it through. So the opposite of that is saying no, right? So why is saying no so freaking hard for people sometimes? And it's because it comes down to this basic primal wiring for connection. We all need to belong. We just get kind of what is meant to belong, like the criteria for belonging. We get that screwed up because what we're really trying to do is fit in, and then it doesn't feel good. Okay, so by saying no, it can lead to fear of lots of things. Fear of breaking that connection, breaking those bonds. We can I should say perceived important bonds, because for your most secure relationships, partner, best friend, maybe that's the same person. If somebody's in your inner circle, we talk about the onion layers, right? Somebody's in that most important inner circle, they should be okay with you saying no, or they don't really belong in the inner circle. That's going to be an episode for another time. We often worry that we've offended someone. Oh no, I hurt their feelings, or we're embarrassed. Oh no, or we might think that that our reputation's at stake. Well, here's the thing: your reputation doesn't reside in you; it resides in everybody else. We don't have control over what they're thinking about us. We just don't. You have to kind of pry open all those minds, climb in, and change things. Not going to happen. And so this boils down to kind of our own self-image and worrying that might be affected. There's a lot of worrying. Hear that main theme? Worrying, which is a gigantic waste of life minutes since it doesn't actually accomplish anything. And again, embarrassed and guilt. So when we say no, it often can lead to a gamut of negative emotions. And this happens when we're living outside of our frame, right? We talked about it. When we're in here, the frame of authenticity, we are born into this world as little babies in our little baby frames. And here is where we feel whole and complete and confident in a good way, authentically confident. This is where our self-acceptance resides, all the good stuff. When we feel our best, we are living the truest, highest vibe of ourselves. When we start to peek outside of our frames, oh no, what do they think? What if I'm embarrassed? What if, and I feel guilty, I might have hurt them. Oh, what did I say? I made hurt them. All that stuff's out here because we're looking for external approval residing in other people's frames, okay? And that's really what we are talking about. That's really what we're talking about. So our belief system about ourselves can be our very rose-colored belief system about ourselves. If that's how we think about ourselves is being threatened, that's because we're out of our frame again. Our little bio, the story we tell about ourselves, how we identify is who we are. If that's threatened at all, you're not in your frame. Because somebody who's residing in their frame, and it doesn't say that we're perfect in there. We can make mistakes. We can make authentic mistakes, right? And then we just take care of it. But we're not, our core isn't threatened. So if you find yourself worrying about other people's approval and what they think, then all that is outside the frame stuff. That's the ego. That's all ego-driven, which is the total polar opposite and evil twin of the authentic self. Good. And here's the other thing, as we as women are even more wired or more hardwired to have a difficulty saying no than men. It's just true. We are socialized, at least in the U.S., I think across the world, but I don't want to take too much of a stretch there. We are hardwired still, even in 2022. It's gotten better, but we're hardwired to have a tough time saying no because we are conditioned from the ground up as little baby girls to become caretakers and to feel and to take responsibility for other people's feelings and happiness and overall well-being, which is basically we're conditioned to become codependent as women. Because all those words I just used are codependent words. Responsible for someone else's feelings, we can't be. Responsible for someone else's happiness, can't be. Responsible for someone else's overall well-being, can't be. Yet we're taught that we should be. So think of the conflict there. So we wonder why it's hard, especially for women, to say no. So this is from the ground up. So when we then say yes to way too much, we bite off more than we can chew, as we say. We take on more than we can handle, and that's like the breeding ground for resentment. Right now, I'm thinking of, since we're all trying to plant, which is not a gift I have, and I'm still working at it. Miracle Grow, it's just it's sort of fertilizer for us to feel miserable and resentful and maybe just really pissed off. And if you're super into the codependent mode and learning how to climb out of that, but you're in it right now, or Andrew in it right now, you might just be flat out pissed off. And here's the thing, and especially most codependents don't really want to show it. They're like, oh, because they want to be Susie Nice Nice, right? Well, Susie Nice Nice is going to leak her pissed offness anyway. It's going to leak out of her pores eventually. That's when you become passive aggressive. So you accidentally forget to pick up somebody's child on the way to Little League, and now they have to do it themselves, and they went through this whole spiel about how they have to stay late at work, and it doesn't even have to be conscious. You can just, look, I'm not always available for you, lady, you know what I mean? And that's this kind of stuff we start to do, and then there's just overt letting it out. So we can feel miserable, resentful, pissed off, and or just burn out entirely, which is the yes hangover we are talking about. We all know what a hangover feels like, right? We feel, I feel like the word logy is coming into my mind, but just fogged over, crappy, sometimes don't want to get off the couch. We said the dehydrated thing, but that's not necessarily related to not saying no, but the rest of it applies. You may even have a headache, because that hangover thing is you just don't, you're like awake, but you don't feel like you can do anything, mañana. And it's not a fun way to feel for anyone, so I've heard. So just like our financial health, our emotional health depends on, you hear, is it Susie Orman who was on the Oprah show for years? I think it was. Anyways, big on pay yourself first. The financial analysts and advisors out there all know, pay yourself first, right? And you just learn to live on that. Well, paying yourself first is super important for emotional health. We've got to keep ourselves filled up. As my good friend Oprah, you all know how much I love her. We're very good friends. She just isn't aware, and she will be someday because I'm going to meet her. She talks about that is our number one job, is to keep ourselves filled up. Because we can't give what we do not have. We can't give what we do not have. And that's why we end up in a yes hangover when we try to. And she says it's filled up in a good way. Do what makes your heart sing. And we're not saying just drop everything and be selfish. We're saying in a good way, prioritize yourself. Do things that make your heart sing. Schedule time, just like a dentist or doctor appointment, like you would if you had an abscessed tooth. You would get there if you had an abscessed tooth. You'd get there. People would work it out, and then you'd have your time, right? So Oprah says, sometimes people will say, oh, she's so full of herself. She's so full of herself. I love how she says that. And she says, now I take that as a compliment. Yeah, I am full of myself. Why? Because I love me and I accept me. I'm going to fill myself till my cup overfloweth. And then you get to say, and I have so much to give to the world because of it. Because my authentic self, my high vibe self is just all there. And I've got so much to give. My give has give. And I don't run out because it's running through me mindfully. It's also important to, so my examples. Okay, so this one, we're filled up. We can, if we're filled up and are living in our frame, here we go, my main prop lately. We can, when someone approaches us, oh, can you do whatever for the Little League bake sale again next week because you just did it. No, the thing is, I'm sorry, I'm booked. I don't even say the sorry part. What are you sorry for? I can't do it. I'm booked. I've got things. I've got blah, blah, blah. And direct. That's it. And also be aware of the harshness bias. I like this, and I got this from somewhere. I can't say it because I don't remember where. The harshness bias is that, like, right when you say no in that minute, we tend to think that people are going to judge and criticize us for ages after that window. They might judge in that moment because they might not like the word no. And the only people who don't like boundaries, you setting healthy boundaries, are the people who benefited from it before. Just remember that. So question whether they're friends or not if they're irritated, because, okay? But the harshness bias, so really, after that window of no in the delivery, right? And they're like, well, I counterjudge you, make the bake sale again. It's been 4 weeks in a row. Why wouldn't you do it week 5, Then after that window goes by, they're not thinking about it anymore. They're probably not saying next week, well, it's week 5. I don't know why she couldn't just do it one more time. They're not. It leaves because they move on to their next prey, and that's what happens. And then there's a second time around dynamic, which I got from the other place. I can't remember. It's a magazine. Anyway, so the second time around dynamic is research has shown, demonstrated, whatever. We're not supposed to say proven in psychology. Research has demonstrated that when people are just coming into trying to say no, but they're not that strong with it yet, so you say no to that bake sale thing, and then you get the look and you read the face because, I was counting on you, and they might say all these manipulative things to get you to do it, even if it's subtle. And then the second time around, you're like, okay, all right, just this last time. So that's shown that those were just working into it, starting to get strong. One manipulative look or phrase, and you cave, all right? So that's what that is. So as my very good friend, Father Mike, would say, you got to say how you feel. You got to tell it like it is. Honesty with kindness. I very much appreciate all the effort you've put in to Little League Bake Sale, and my little so-and-so is benefiting lots, and I can help maybe do something in the future, but next week's just not going to work for me. That's it. There's nothing insulting there. You didn't drop the F-bomb. You just told it like it is. Too much, not going to happen. Okay? It's a boundary. And get back in our frame. One thing I also use, in addition to the honesty and kindness thing, which I try to live by that from Father Mike, is also humor. Sometimes, let's say it's Girl Scout cookies, which probably isn't a good example because I don't think anyone can have too many Girl Scout cookies. But let's just say, it's like the 5th cutie came to the door or something, and you've already, spent a fortune on the first 4. And let's say you live in a neighborhood, and that's not going to stop, right? Sometimes I would use humor like, honey, I'm the biggest fan of peanut butter patties that there could possibly be, and the freezer is full. I could probably feed a small country, and if I eat one more peanut butter patty, I'm not going to be able to fit out that door. Something like that, and just humor, and then they'll laugh and smile, and that's it. So, so we get back in our frames. We are whole and complete and feeling confident. We don't need the approval out here of other people. Remember, when we have the approval out here, that means if we don't get the approval, we're uncomfortable, or we may be even debilitated. So we got to shift back into our frame, climb back into our frame, and realize that we must keep ourselves filled up. We are whole and complete exactly as we are, and we don't need anybody's freaking approval. That's it. No yes hangovers. Just say no. And it can even be a complete sentence if it's a teenager. Okay, this is Kimberly Quinn signing off from my living room in northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.